Hello, we continue with modern communication. You remember I explained that the word modern means newer ways. So we continue to look at newer ways of communication. Firstly, we're going to do the corrections from last week's activity. Then we are going to look at the topic of early typewriters. And then we're going to look at personal computers. For this lesson, you're going to need your working stationery, including your pencils, your pen, your ruler, and your eraser. You are also going to need your social science history workbook and your social science study and master textbook. What we are doing today is from the page 163 and page 169. Let us do the corrections. The question was, how useful is radio in 2020 with the coronavirus? Radio is a way people get information. So the young and the elderly listen to the radio. The young for music and the elderly mainly for news. In between the radio programs, information about safety measures is given. We also need to consider that in Africa, not all households have televisions. Not all households, but most households have radios. And on the radio, people get to learn about the COVID-19 virus. Therefore, radio is important in 2020. Today, we get to look at the Turing machine, which was invented in the 1700s by Mr. Pellegrino Turing. Mr. Pellegrino invented this machine, which was the first manual typing machine, for his friend Carolina. Carolina was blind, so Mr. Turing thought to himself, how best can I help my friend? So he made or invented the first typing machine known as the Turing machine. This here is Mr. Turing himself. Unfortunately, through the records of history, there is no picture of the Turing machine. Mr. Pellegrino did not just invent the Turing machine. He thought to himself, how will I use ink for this machine? Then he came up with the carbon paper. You may know the carbon paper. It is mainly used for receipts so that whatever you type can copy on the other hand. Mr. Pellegrino also invented the carbon paper so it can provide the ink for his machine. Now these two gentlemen liked his idea and worked hard on it to improve it. One day, Mr. Carlos Gilden came to Mr. Christopher Scholes and said, hey, my friend, listen, I saw something created by Mr. Turing. So why don't we try it out and see if we cannot improve it? And then Mr. Christopher here bought into the idea, raised funds for the idea, worked with many mechanical engineers, and came up with this machine. This is the first typewriter ever to be made. Listen, the Turing machine was like a typewriter, but it was just a typing machine. But this one here is a typewriter with many features, including alphabets. Now, the original typewriter, not the Turing machine, I'm talking about the typewriter, it uses what we call the QWERTY keyboard. Now, the QWERTY keyboard is designed in such a way that the rapidly used letters are not close to each other. So the U is far from the A and the I is far from the A, and so on. It is so that they do not bump each other as you type. Now with time, they improved the typewriter and they came up with electrical typewriters. You will see with the wire that it has to be plugged in. Now in the beginning, in the 1800s, when the typewriter was introduced and invented and introduced the manual typewriter, then there was a profession that was created called typewriting. So people actually began going to school for typewriting and they became professional typewriters. In the beginning, it was a profession only for men. But when the electrical typewriters came about in the 1900s, then women started joining the profession, and wait for it, they dominated the profession. It means most women were employed as typewriters because they are efficient and organized. Yes, I'm about to shock you. In 1920, this here is known as the first computer ever. Yes, the first computer. You see this guy is saying, I'm gonna need a bigger desk, because this is where the concept of computer started from. So the invention of personal computers started from this that you see here. After this, they started thinking of ways to make computing easier. So they designed a desktop so that one can be efficient and information can be stored and used efficiently. Then in the 1970s, they came up with the concept of personal computers. That is what we call PCs. So before the laptops, the iPads, the tablets, we had this. Yes, that is one of the earliest versions of the desktop computers. Desktop means it can sit on the desk. So you can put it on a desk and you can work on it while it's on the desk. That is what the word desktop means. So this monster here used to sit on the desk while people work. This was one of the earliest versions of desktop personal computers. However, the processing of these desktop was very slow, super slow. So they had to think of other ways of innovation. Talk about innovation, right? Today, we live in a totally different world. Here is the version of today's desktop. Yes. It is still able to sit on the desk, but look how fancy it is. But because people want to be able to carry things around, carry their work around, work in a park, work in a restaurant, work at home, then there was an invention of laptops. Today's laptops look like these. Yes, there is a computer. I want you to think about the first computer that was made in the 1920s and look at this. It was compressed to this level. And then we have iPads. Here are different iPads. They come in all sorts of different colors, shapes, and sizes. Some use tablets and not iPads. Yes, but this is how far we've come, and we've come to this here. Now here is a keyboard of the first typewriter that was made. Now I want you to look at this keyboard. It looks familiar to the one that we use. Yes, as much as certain things change, most of the things or other things remain the same. This, you remember, we say we call it the QWERTY keyboard. It is because of these first letters. QWERTY keyboard. If you open your device now and you try to type, whether it's a touch screen or you need to type, yes, it's still the same keyboard. If you're working on your laptop, yes, it's still the same keyboard. So the QWERTY keyboard remains even after many years. Please enjoy your next spring break.
Dog goes woof, cat goes meow, bird goes tweet, and mouse goes squeak. Cow goes moo, frog goes croak, and the elephant goes toot. Ducks say quack, and fish go blub, and the seal goes ow, ow, ow. But there's one sound that no one knows. What does the fox say? What the fox say? What the fox say? Happy, happy, happy ho. Happy, happy, happy ho. Happy, happy, happy ho. What the fox say? What the fox say? Big blue eyes, pointy nose, chasing mice and digging holes. Tiny paws up the hill. Suddenly you're standing still. Your fur is red, so beautiful, like an angel in disguise. But if you meet a friendly horse, will you communicate by more? How will you speak to that horse? What does the fox say? What the fox say? What the fox say? What the fox say? What does the fox say? The secret of the fox, ancient mystery, somewhere deep in the woods. I know you're hiding. What is your sound? Will we ever know? Will always be a mystery. What do you say? You're my guardian angel, hiding in the woods. What is your
Okay, now you have to do this activity. Write the date and the heading and the page numbers. So you're going to think of your favorite app on your device, either your phone, your iPad, your computer, whatever it may be. And then you're going to draw the image of the app, like a short image, like a short icon of the app. And then you're going to write the name of the app and what the app does. 3, you're going to tell us why is the app your favorite amongst all.